You're docking me 2.5 hours a week for lunch, whether I take it or not.
I worked for a prestigious millwork. We made cabinets and custom moldings, etc.
Very, very high-end, working with companies on tight schedules.
I was the only truck driver. Company was owned by a husband and wife, and the wife did not like me.
They had implemented mandatory lunches for everyone in the shop and building, etc. But due to the uniqueness of my position, I usually didn't have to adhere to stupid rules like that.
And I knew it was just a way for them to screw the workers, because a lot of guys were dedicated and would work through lunch.
She finally caught up to me one day and was reviewing my time card and was angry and said,
"I don't care. You don't have any excuse. You must take a lunch." And I argued the point, said that some of the materials I was picking up were critical. She said, "I don't care." I think now is when I enter into the malicious part of this. So I would go pick up zebra wood that they needed right away at noon. And after the load was loaded, I pulled into Burger King and ignored any phone calls that my manager sent and got back to the shop 2 hours later. And he was livid because he had 3 very expensive people standing around waiting for me.
Needless to say, I never had to take a lunch again.
Your hair needs to be mostly a natural color. No, not like that. Attended university about 10 years ago. As is pretty standard when one is a student, I dyed my hair funky colors. When I returned home to my summer job, I had short blue hair. My summer job was in retail. I worked on a checkout. One day my manager pulled me aside and told me the uniform policy said I wasn't allowed to have the majority of my hair an unnatural color. Asked what a majority meant, and he said I'd be allowed streaks, but not my whole head. So home I went with a box of brown dye. The next day I turned up to work with the majority of my hair brown, but my fringe bangs and my undercut were still blue. Because of my hairstyle being short from the front, where the customers were, all that could be seen was my blue fringe. My manager told me it was unacceptable, even though I pointed out that more than 3/4 of my hair was now brown. He said I had to dye the fringe and undercut brown too, or he'd fire me. I dyed them brown and immediately started wearing clipped and colored hair pieces. He let me keep those, but he was not happy. I still don't know why my ability to serve people was affected by my hair color. Head for formatting.
Buy out our company and then fire everyone before you change the system. Works for me. I had worked at a small and rural internet company for nearly 6 years. It was family-owned, and they paid us all really well for the work that we did. Barely anyone ever left the company. In my position, I was head of sales, and I controlled all software that was associated to clients. This had everything in it, including billing addresses, service addresses, and leads for new clients. It was an outdated program for sure, but it got the job done, and it worked for us. Fast forward time, and we are still doing our regular jobs when there was an unscheduled meeting thrown at us. We walked in, and there were several new faces sitting on the other end of the table. They announced that they had sold the company to XYZ. XYZ seemed like an okay place to continue working because they too were local and the team seemed nice. I was told everything is business as usual and to not do anything different. The transition took place, and ever so often someone from the new company would come to me and ask how we would do things and get a feel for it. I could tell they were trying to weed us out, so I went balls to the wall with renewals on old accounts. They announced to me that I needed to go to the HR department around closing time. Having anticipated this, I saved all of my commission files and emailed them to myself. I went to the office, and they laid me off on the spot because they do not pay commission to their staff. I said okay, and that I plan on them still paying me commission for the time I was there, as they had not discussed anything pay-related with me yet. She said again, we do not pay commission. I emailed my commission statement to the manager I was working with and basically was told the same thing. Fast forward to the next week, when they realized they no longer had the credentials to get into our system, and they called to ask for the information. I let them know that I would be happy to do that when I come up there to get my check for commission. I did not hear anything the next day, and then I get a call that my commission check is in the office. I went up there, grabbed the biggest commission check I had ever made, and gave them the credentials. Never tell someone business as usual when you do not intend on things being business as usual.
Need me to send in proof of my name change. Fine, enjoy your damn fax machine. So I was granted a legal name change a few months ago. Long, boring story as to why. Simply put, hated the unique spelling of my first name and wanted to ditch my surname. Didn't have much trouble updating my name most places. Social Security, driver's license, insurance, yada yada. No bumps in the road until I got the very last thing to update, my credit card. I use this particular credit card a lot. I'm self-employed and use this card to rack up travel points for flights, hotels, rental cars, etc. However, if you've ever checked into a hotel or picked up a rental car, you'll know the name on the card must match the name on the ID. So I called the CC company, told I had to fill out a certain document and mail that in, alongside a copy of the court document. Sure enough, 2 weeks go by. Hear nothing, so call again. They say they haven't received it. I'm then informed they have a fax number that I can use to send in the documentation. So I fax in everything necessary using an app on my phone. Another 2 weeks go by, still nothing. I call again, same spiel on the other end of the phone. Please mail or fax, you get the deal. I once more did what they asked, yet another week passes. I call again, told the same damn script. I'm starting to get annoyed by this point. I have an upcoming trip planned and need the card to match my ID. So I asked to speak to a manager. They give me some BS of the manager not being currently available. Anyways, I fax in the document and court order once again. However, this time I decided I was just going to keep hitting send after the previous one had shown as delivered. I thought I'd repeat the process a few times, just to make sure they got it. After sending it 25 times the first day, I got no response. Next day I was sitting on my couch watching football. Thought I'd send the fax a few more times. By the time I realized how many times I'd hit send, I had sent it over 130 times. The very next afternoon, I got a call from a manager at CC Company. She sounded quite angry over the phone. I just played dumb. You guys asked me to fax it in. I got my updated card in the mail 3 days later. TLDR, spent almost 2 months trying to update my name on credit card. CC Company gave me the same runaround every time I called, just fax us X and Y. Faxed them X and Y about 150 times. They finally sent me a new card with the correct name. Holy heck, this blew up. Glad I could provide some entertainment. Go forth and maliciously comply, my friends. I'd also like to mention how painfully easy dealing with Social Security and the DMV were in comparison. For whatever reason, CC companies would look at my updated driver's license, Social Security card, and court order document, but still not be convinced my name had changed. I understand fraud happens, but come on.
My manager has problems with clock watchers. In my last job, when I started, I would log in as soon as I got there. And if I had anything to finish up, I would do it before I left. I didn't mind as I'm a team player. This resulted in me doing 20-30 minutes a day unpaid, but I liked the company and liked a clear desk. Fast forward to years, and my father-in-law was terminally ill. We got a call from the hospital telling us we had to get there ASAP as he didn't have long left. I told my manager and left at 3:45. Core hours were 10 to 4. The next month my pay was docked for half a day. I had already made 2 hours extra unpaid that week, but they told me they couldn't make exceptions, and the extra I did was my own decision. Already then, I came in on the dot and left in the dot. I did this for 5 years. I worked to the letter of my contracted hours. My manager was talking to a new starter, and in my earshot she told him she hated clock watchers, who left on the dot as this doesn't show company loyalty. I leaned over and replied loyalty works both ways, and being docked half a day's pay for attending the deathbed of a beloved family member, when I'd already done more than my weekly hours, was cruel and feeling. So I showed the company the same level of compassion they showed me. After all, rules are rules and exceptions cannot be made. The new starters started on the dot and left on the dot, as did the whole staff. I dread to think how many extra hours they lost over the whole department over the next few years.
Check out my other great videos.